This is 142.2, The Kingdom.
And once again, the Lombardi Trophy has a red and gold reflection. You can doubt the Chiefs. You can dislike the Chiefs. You can disrespect the Chiefs. You're gonna have to deal with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yo, what is up, everybody? We are officially back. Welcome to 142.2, The Kingdom. I'm your host, Dominic Malner. We got GG in the house. We got Corey in the house. We got Richard and we'll have Trizzy very, very soon. But this is the new format that we're going to be doing from now on. We were in the past Arrowhead PM. Now we're 142.2 The Kingdom. Kind of going with kind of a radio vibe, but just kind of similar content, but just kind of a new revitalized brand. A lot of stuff has happened since we were last seen. And we probably won't get into everything because this week is the first week of Chiefs training camp, guys. The 2025 season has officially begun. And man, I'm just glad to have Chiefs football. I know it ended on a sour note with the Super Bowl, but I think there's a lot of great optimism coming our way. And yeah, DG, any thoughts so far on training camp? These first 2 days, anything you've seen that you're excited about?
Yeah, man, I've been hearing about, the ultimate Bashard Smith play that apparently happened that nobody has video of. And, apparently it was amazing. So, yeah, I've been seeing it's been a lot of good things. I mean, it's only so much you could clearly take at this point from the first 2 days of them being in shirts and shorts. But yeah, it seems like a lot of the younger guys are getting themselves involved early on, making some big plays. Just trying to get themselves acclimated to an Andy Reid training camp at this point. So it seems like all is going well. Josh Simmons seems like he's definitely immersing himself as a cornerstone at left tackle at this point. So that's good news to hear. He's healthy, and that was one of my biggest concerns kind of coming into camp early on. So hopefully things continue to keep going well. And yeah, man, they do what they need to do to be ready for the year.
Yeah, I'm really excited that Josh has been getting those first team reps as well as Jalen Moore. Unfortunately, Jawan Taylor, Christian Fulton, and I forget the third person that got on the PUP list, so they're not practicing so far. Say that again, Rich?
Trey Watson, tight end. One of the tight ends is down right now, but Jared Wiley is practicing, so that's good news.
So I do have a question.
Finally.
I did say I was going to come back to this at camp. DG, are you still salty about the Simmons pick?
I don't say I was never salty about his talent. I always thought the talent was there. We clearly seen, Corey, from watching on film, that he could play. That was never a question. It was just always his health. Could he actually be on the field? And just hearing about that injury and knowing that that's a catastrophic kind of injury that a lot of people don't come back from. But fortunately enough for him, he's young. So I think that played a big factor into him being able to be back on the field. It was just always that question. Could he be back on the field? Could he be healthy for the year? How cautious are they going to be with him? For them to be in this window of winning Super Bowls, you kind of would like to have a guy that is going to be able to kind of compete on day one. So I'm glad to see that he's out there on day one and being able to be competing and that he's showing them that he can handle this job up until this point. I'll be really excited. I'm going Sunday to the first padded practice to see with pads on. So I'll be excited to see what he can do with pads on as well too. I think that's when the real work starts.
Yeah, definitely. Glad to see he hasn't seem to have lost any movement ability so far, so that's a good sign. Again, we'll see what it looks like when pads come on, but he seems like he's going through drills well. Most of the rookies seem like they're going out and doing some really good things, and apparently bulking up a lot if Chris Jones and the reporting is to be believed, because apparently Omar Norman Lott is up to 315 from his combine weight of 294. So I definitely want to hear how he looks in practice on Sunday.
Yeah, I think that could possibly be why he's getting more reps. His only downside was his ability to stop the run and getting bullied in the run game. So he's got that extra weight and still has that explosiveness. He could be that 3-down interior D line man and not have to keep rotating in pass specialists.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. If he can put the pads on and still have that burst and quickness to get through double teams and like win one-on-one matchups, especially now that the interior O-line is basically set and he's going to go up against Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and all those guys every day for the next month plus. Is he going to hold up with that what is he going to look like in that increased weight? Because based on the pictures I've seen, he definitely put on some more muscle mass in his arms, because his arms look like way bigger than they ever looked at Tennessee. So that was clearly a point of emphasis for them in OTAs, rookie minicamp, and through this offseason was if he wants to be on the field for more than just pass rushing downs, he needed to bulk up some. So I think that's going to be a storyline I'm going to watch as they get through training camp.
While he's putting on weight, I've noticed several players that have shedded some weight. Kelsey's noticeably smaller, but also Kareem Hunt looked like he's dropped some weight too. Looks like he's trying to get maybe a little of that burst back and play a little bit less contact football and use a little bit of that burst that he used to have.
Yeah, that's what a lot of guys have been saying. Andy pointed that out at one of his press conferences leading up to training camp. Was a lot of the guys look like they really attacked this offseason to get their health right, get their bodies feeling as good as they have in years. And so I'm hoping that pays dividends really quickly as we get toward the season.
Now, does anybody else think that we're taking a different approach to training camp than we did last year? So I was at the first week last year, and it was mainly a heavy dose of Rice and then Hollywood, Rice and Hollywood, Rice and Hollywood. Do you think they're making more of an effort to get other people involved based off of what happened last year, having 2 injuries right away, and then having to go to guys that didn't have any touches at camp?
I think early in training camp, it's probably going to be a little bit of the same, just because we know there's a Rice suspension looming. They probably want to get him as many reps as possible. So when that eventually comes down, we can start moving towards some of these other guys like Jalen Royals, seeing what some of these other guys have with increased reps. It looks like they're still spreading the ball around based on what I've seen from the 11-on-11 reports, where Jalen Royals is getting involved. The tight ends are all getting involved. They want to see what everybody looks like in terms of intermediate to deep routes, which apparently are, for about the 4th training camp in a row, the deep ball is back. We're going to find out if that's true in a month and a half, but allegedly the deep ball is back. So we shall see.
Yeah, a little bit different in padded practice, though. Like somebody said, we play a lot of press man coverage, so when people are getting free releases off the line, it's easy to get a little bit of that deep separation, especially when you've got people like Watson that plays press, Williams that plays physical at the line. The only one that doesn't really play that is McDuffie.
Go ahead, Don.
We won't know much about some of the interior guys really until pads come on, which is probably why we haven't heard much to this point. It's usually how it goes once padded practices get going, is we'll start hearing what the D-line looks like. Gelati seems like he's doing really well. His quickness has definitely showed up the first 2 days, so it'll be another one to watch when pads come on if he can keep that up.
sounds like Mahomes and Tyquan's making some chemistry too. I mean, he's always had a high pedigree. He was like, what? Was he first or second round pick from New England?
I think he was second round, I believe. The second round pick, I think, for them. Supposed to be a
Like I
burner.
said, he never really had any quarterbacks in New England. I mean, you look at their quarterback situation over the last 3 or 4 years. So maybe if he can get some chemistry with Mahomes, we can kind of get out of him what people saw from him coming out of college.
Yeah, there's a hope. I still think he's kind of at the point where he's on that teetering line of making the team or being on practice squad for real. I think they obviously like what he's able to bring in his dynamic of ability of being, fast, and the Chiefs have always valued speed and things of that nature. But I do think that they do believe at the same time there are guys that are probably ahead of him that obviously deserve spots on this team as well too. So we'll see what happens with Tyquan. I think I ultimately think he makes the practice squad, and they kind of bring him up in relief if they need a special teams guy, or returner, or something.
I think he's the sixth receiver. I think Remigio is designated as just returner, and I think Sky Moore gets the boot.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean,
I
if
think
he
the entire world is praying for that.
if he keeps getting locked up by Christian Roland Wallace, then yes, he probably is not long for this roster.
Yeah,
That's nasty.
Poor guy.
You know, a lot of these players, I say, yeah, indoor football, arena football, maybe in their future. I don't know if I even see that for Sky. Like, he's just downtrended so far every season, and I think it's gotten in his head.
right.
Yeah.
Well, we shall see on that point. But in terms of other news that has happened, in addition to training camp starting and the draft stuff happening, we've got a couple of big signings that have happened over the past week or so. We've got Trey Smith and George Karlauftis locked in for the foreseeable future. So, well, I guess we'll start with the most important part of the trenches with Trey Smith and the offensive line. What do you guys think in terms of what's been reported so far, the information that's available? How do you guys what do you guys think about the deal? How do you guys think that's going to help in terms of any future signings and overall just continuity of this line going forward? Because that's been a big deal for Patrick over the past couple of years.
I mean, we spent so much equity over the last few years trying to address the outside of the O-line. It looks like they're finally starting to get some chemistry on the outside of the tackle position. Simmons looks like he's going to be a lock for that left tackle spot. Right tackle spot's already locked down. I say with as much problems as we've had with the O-line over the last 3 years, you don't want to take away any pieces that are still working and create more holes.
Yeah, for me, I think what this signing meant, because a lot of people were very, I wouldn't say hesitant, but worried that it wasn't going to happen. I know DG was constantly being like, "Where's the news? Where's the news?" If you followed him on Twitter, but I mean, highest paid guard of all time is pretty remarkable. Just when you think that we were gonna be, because there's been times throughout Chiefs history where we've kind of just stalled a little bit and not really paid our guys. But I think with this draft and the previous draft, the 2021 draft and the 2022 draft were so special for Veach and the guys that we got on the team that I think Veach really wanted to keep his guys. It was like literally the last, there was only 4 hours left until the deadline, and they made this deal. I mean, 4 years, $92 million, $70 million guaranteed. I mean, we have the highest. We have at the time signed the highest paid center of all time. Now we have the highest paid guard of all time. It's ebony and ivory. It's great chemistry. They have the best chemistry for interior guard and a center. I know we missed Tooney, and we're hoping that Suma Ataia can fill in that role. But having a guy like Trey Smith on that side of the ball to help out is going to be absolutely huge for Mahomes. I mean, it just shows that Veach, when he picks one of the guys that really hits, he's going to pay him. So that's why I'm optimistic about a guy that we're probably going to talk about later in terms of signing. But, I think this was the right call, and, all the worries that we had just off the table.
I think it was a great deal in terms of structure too. What's funny is, in essence, this is basically a 3-year deal. A lot of all the guaranteed money comes off the books after 2027, and if they have to cut him for any reason, there's no dead cap hit. So, and George's is a lot similar based on what we've got in terms of structure there as well. So Veach keeps continuing to do it somehow in terms of getting these guys the money that they deserve, which Trey Smith has probably become one of the best players to deserve it. He's been a class act throughout his entire career. He comes to work every day, gets the job done, and now he's got generational wealth for him and his family. So I can't be prouder of him for what he's done, considering the odds that he had to go up against just coming into his career.
Yeah,
So,
on top of that, how much money he lost with the drop that he had because of his medicals.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd already lost millions and millions of dollars and still came in and is giving everything that he had. So, like, if you're talking about effort, somebody coming in the late rounds and competing and fighting for every snap, I mean, he earned every dollar that he got. It made up for the money that he lost based off the dropping in the draft.
I mean, I think it was a great move. I think everyone's happy about it. And seeing as how, I mean, what was he, a 6th-round draft pick? Am I wrong there?
Yep. Late 6th-round draft pick.
So, I mean, huge. To go from a late 6th-round draft pick to being the highest paid guard of all time is just shows the kind of testament he is as a player. And just, man, I'm just glad to have Trey as part of the team still. I'm ready for him to bring the smack down like I know he wants to. Always
yeah, he's still in his mid-20s, so he has the potential to get better too.
When we re-signed Creed, I knew we were re-signing Smith. When have you ever seen Mahomes out in an event and Creed and Smith are not there with him? Those three are best friends. I don't think you can separate them and have Mahomes happy.
1,000%. Yo, DG, I feel like a lot of people are asking about Malika who.
Yeah, what's going on here?
What's up with that?
Move on. Moving on.
No, Trey. We'll get to that later, but no, I do not think he makes the roster. But we'll get that. We'll get to that.
Gotta say thanks to all 120 of you guys, at least so far, for joining us today. This is awesome. Great debut so far. And then, what a great word, Dominic. And kind of I wouldn't say shocking, but very surprising news was that right after we did this, a week later, Brett Veach signed George Karlauftis, our edge rusher, to a 4-year, $93 million contract that includes a $62 million guarantee. It was kind of surprising because the first thing that I remember Nate Taylor on NFL Today on ESPN said is that this means that we're going to go try and sign Trent McDuffie, who we are going to talk about in a bit. But they signed George Karlauftis, and I mean, if we're being honest, there are some moments where we, in our previous show, have criticized George's finishing ability a little bit. But, I mean, I'm glad he's part of the team. He and Chris have great chemistry. I know there's a lot to be a little bit more that could be desired with George. But at the same time, he's second all-time in Chiefs sacks in postseason history, which is insane for 3 years. And then, I mean, I think his production only goes up. In the 3 years he's been on the team, he's recorded 24 and a half sacks, which is pretty good. That's like eight a season, which is very solid. Obviously, when you got a guy like Chris Jones in the middle, I mean, it opens up lanes for him to finish. And I think there's been times where he's a little finesse and quick, where you're just like, can we just get to the quarterback? But I think he's gotten better and better each year. I'm expecting a good year, but I guess the question is, for this contract to be worth it, and this isn't like to criticize George at all, but what kind of production do you guys want from George this year specifically to make it seem like this contract was worth it?
I think in terms of at least until the new money kicks in, I think he'll need to take that next step to have a more well-rounded season. He's been near tops of the league in pressures since he came in the league. He bats down passes, and he's been great at getting sacks in the playoffs so far in his career. The one thing he hasn't really translated fully yet is having that on a week-to-week basis, a consistency in finishing plays to get a 10-plus sack season in the regular season.
He'll go.
His rookie year, he took about half the season to get going. His second year, again, he started out a little slow, but then came on to finish the year as well as in the playoffs. And then in year 3, it kind of happened again. So he needs to kind of find that next gear to justify the faith that clearly the front office has in him. I think he can do it. I think it's well within his ability. But at the end of the day, the stats and the production speaks for itself. And some people would say $22 million a year in new money might be a little bit rich. But factoring in the 2 years that are still left on his deal and the fact that those new cap hits move over into those first 2 years, it then works out a whole lot better in terms of year-to-year money, cap hits, all that good stuff. And because of the fact that the salary cap is still going up year over year, and Aiden Hutchinson still hasn't signed a new deal. Trayvon Walker still hasn't signed a new deal, and he still has comparable stats to other guys who were picked around him in the same draft period, like Gregory Rousseau. So I think it's a fair deal. I think both sides kind of left something on the table to get this done. And ultimately, I think with guys who are on their way out and contracts that will be coming off the books in the next couple of years, I think this opens the door perfectly to getting guys quickly like Rasheed and Trent McDuffie signed to the contracts that they, to this point, have earned in terms of on-field production.
Yeah, I've got 2 points on it. The thing for me with Karlauftis is he's one of those almost guys. He almost gets to the quarterback almost every play, but it's just that first step isn't quick enough for him to beat the guy immediately. And there's so many plays. That's why he gets a lot of batted balls, because he gets in the QB's face, but he's just not quick enough on those moves to get to the quarterback to make those sacks. And they come in bunches. He'll go 4 games without a sack, and then he'll get 3 sacks in a game, go 2 games without a sack, get another sack, 2 games without a sack, get 2 sacks. They come in spurts. There's no consistency really with it. And a lot of the times his sacks come in games where Chris Jones is getting a lot of pressure and he's ran into Karlauftis. Is one thing I've noticed. Karlauftis has benefited a lot from Chris Jones and a quarterback trying to roll away from him. Now, the one thing I can say is Karlauftis has gotten a lot better at maintaining this lane. First season, he was overrunning it. Quarterbacks were running away from him. Last year, he was a lot better about staying in position and being able to close in on it when people were running away from CJ. And that's what you're supposed to do when you've got somebody dominant like CJ. You sit there and wait till somebody crosses your lane and you capitalize. Now, on the contract, this is the problem we had with Dorsey. Dorsey waited until the very end to negotiate contract. What is that? Yeah. But
sorry, that's my background. Sorry.
Anytime you wait until the end of somebody's contract to negotiate, you've got 3 or 4 more defensive end that are signed, which is raised the top gap, and the middle gap is raised up. So Beach has been really good about signing people early, and a lot of people complain about the money when we sign them early. But then in 3 years, when everybody else is getting new deals from the same year, we're like, oh, man, that's a steal. I mean, we heard that with Mahomes. We heard, oh, we're not going to be able to pay anybody with that contract. And then 3 years later, everybody's saying Beach is a genius for the way he did that. So, I mean, the money doesn't bother me because I know that the defensive end market is going to keep increasing. And in 3 years, 2 years, when the new money starts hitting, it's going to look like a good deal. As long as he keeps the same production and maybe up it a little bit, I'd like to see him get up into the double digits. But for what we got, I think when the new money hits, I think that that's a fair market value for him.
What do you think, DG?
I'm sorry. Who are we talking about? It's a lot going on right here.
I'm sorry, brother. We're talking about George Karloftis and his new deal and what we kind of expect. What would be the production and the work ethic you would want after signing him?
Yeah, I think ultimately, I mean, the way they structure it, it's kind of gonna be a bargain for them. And as soon as he starts getting his new money, we always know the number always goes up, the market always jumps up. So I think it was kind of beneficial for them to get out ahead of it early and get the deal done. I think ultimately if he's a double-digit sack guy or close in that range for this contract, I think that he deservingly deserves this money at this point in time. The first 2 years are still kind of based off of his rookie deal, so I'm not too worried about what he's gonna do in these first. I mean, we know consistently what we're gonna get from George. He's a 3-down guy. He plays the run really well. He's good in his one-on-ones at certain points in time. So I think his talent is still ascending in certain areas and certain places. So I think he's well deserving of this contract, man. I don't see no issues with it. I don't see why anybody would really have a problem with it up until this point. Like I said, by the time he gets into the contract fully, there's going to be guys, especially there behind him, Aiden Hutchinson, Trayvon Walker, that are going to make really a lot more money over him and going to make his deal look like a massive bargain. So credit to Brett Veach and them for getting out ahead of it early and doing what they had to do and being able to get that contract signed and done. And I think it also helps in their cap space for them to do further deals that they would like to do. So, you know, if I was his, like I said on Kingdom Cast last night, if I was his agent, I probably would have told him not to sign this deal.
Oh yeah,
wait it out. But you know, hey, George likes it here, and you know, ultimately, some guys don't care about money and things of that nature. So, you know, all credit and more power to him.
I thought it was also interesting that there was no signing bonus announced with this deal, and usually that comes in with initial reporting, and it's been a few days now since he got signed, and there's been no talk of that. So I'm curious if perhaps that was something that George left on the table, kind of eschewing a traditional signing bonus in favor of, you know, getting that longer term stability that the Chiefs were offering him. So if that, in order to move those cap hits around and kind of get all that stuff ironed out. So I'm curious to see if that comes out sooner rather than later, just so we can get a little bit more clarity, because we're not entirely sure what the structure looks like in terms of cap hits yet, because outside of the initial details and a couple more little things with guaranteed money, we actually don't really know what the total cap hits look like year to year. So I am curious what that's going to eventually look like. But in terms of just the money itself, when you factor in what the 2 years on his current deal, it looks great based on the production he's given so far. So I really can't find much to really complain about in terms of that.
Yeah, I'm just with George specifically. I've always liked his energy, and I just think he's a year away. I mean, like, and that's not even a slight against him. I feel like he's due for one of these huge sack seasons, especially with, Chris Jones still on the team. And I don't know how much Chris has left in the tank, to be honest. But I mean, you will definitely expect high level production from him specifically this year, Chris Jones. So I feel like this could be a big year for him to get not even just 10 sacks, but more. And especially with a guy like Norman Lott joining the team, and the evolution of FAU, Ashton Gillette, all these guys. I mean, I think the sky's the limit. And to have George on the team, and he's worked his ass off coming out of Purdue, and really just I feel like he's grown every year. I mean, last year was a little bit more could have been desired, but I mean, the talent's there. I think it's possible. And speaking of I wouldn't say bad news. It was the inevitable thing that was going to happen, but we got to talk about Rashee Rice. On July 17th. Yes, July 17th, the Dallas County judge sentenced Rashee to 5 years probation and 30 days of jail time that can be served during those 5 years, stemming for his role in the multi-car crash in 2024. This is going to lead to the NFL expediting the disciplinary process. It's been rumored to be at least 2 to at most 6, but you never know what's going to happen. And speaking of that, we got Trizzy in the house. Trizzy, welcome back. Good to see you.
Cheese, baby. Sorry about that, fellas. Practice today, man. But I'll make sure I'll be here at the start of it. Just had to get the QBs right before I left. But welcome back, man. I appreciate it. What's up, fellas? Good to see y'all. Good to see y'all again as always, man. Sounds like I came in right in the time. Huh?
Yeah, we are talking about the Rashee Rice inevitable suspension after the court ruling a week ago. So kind of the impact of Rashee missing at most, I think, 6 games to start the year. So a good a third of the season almost. But just initial thoughts on that, and then what you expect from the guys that want to step up. So Trizzy, if you want the floor, it's all yours.
Appreciate that. Yeah, man. Unfortunately, we knew this dark cloud would cover us one day. The fact that it's coming a little earlier is just kind of like a sigh of relief. At least we know it's here. As far as like what that entails for the Chiefs, obviously you don't. We was already seeing life without Rashee Rice, and obviously it was kind of hard for our offense to catch rhythm, catch flow. Obviously we had other problems last year, but I think that just gives guys like Hollywood Brown. He's going to see extended targets. Kind of working him in slow. I think that he can really be a guy for us this year. He wasn't healthy last year. Had some injuries, didn't go his way, and we tried to run him in at the end of the season, and we've seen his impact. Even though it was a couple of games, we did see his impact on the offense. So it's great to have guys like Hollywood back, a veteran in his offense now, I guess you could say, who has a little bit of experience, and then obviously the emergence of Xavier Worthy at the end of the season, caught a lot of eyes. Him and Rice kind of have a similar story with the way that they, contributed. They were kind of matriculated in the beginning of the season, right? And then as we went on, we seen the guys kind of be a bigger role of the offense. So I can see Xavier being a trending topic for us earlier on, and then obviously the rookie Jalen Royals and Juju Smith-Schuster's veteran presence. Mr. Reliable, Mr. Consistent in this offense, which Juju has been. And then we'll get to get the younger guy going younger. I think Andy Reid is kind of off that I don't play rookies thing. We've seen that kind of change over the course of the 2 years with Rasheed Rice and Xavier Worthy. So hopefully Jalen Royals can kind of follow that train and be able to contribute. I think we haven't talked about him yet, but I think Brashad Smith can be an extended version of our passing game as well. Getting him involved, and he's very electric with the ball in his hands. So it's some guys and it's some ways. Obviously, we still got Old Reliable in 87. I'm repping Big 87 today. We're going to have to use him carefully, but, he can still be dangerous for us. So I think just a element of all those things I just said, and then obviously we bring back Rice back into that after his suspension is served. But obviously, it's tough. You don't want to see a guy like Rasheed Rice miss any time because he's so important to the offense. So I know Miss Mahomes miss getting him the ball for sure.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a little tough probably to start the season, but I think the silver lining with that is at least as of today, July 23rd, 2025, we are a lot healthier than we were to start the season. We didn't have a lot of guys banged up. We haven't lost anybody yet, and we are we're a lot more depth. There's a lot more depth in both the receiver and the tight end rooms than we kind of had in recent seasons, especially last year with Jared Wiley going down pretty quickly. We lost Hollywood really quickly, and then it got compounded with Rasheed Rice being gone. Now we kind of know early on, hey, Rasheed's not going to be here. There's a good chance he's not going to be here to start the season. So now that gives them an opportunity to really incorporate some of these other guys, get them more reps, get them more comfortable with Mahomes and the offense. So that way, hopefully, once things get kicked off in Brazil, we're rolling a little bit better than we were having to kind of figure out some of these things on the fly because guys were dropping week in and week out to start the season. So I think Brashard Smith will be a very good addition to help with the receiving aspect of the running game. I think Jake Brenningstool has looked pretty good to start things out. I've liked what I've seen in terms of him improvising to get open and give Mahomes a big target to throw to, especially in their red zone work that I've seen the first couple days. And again, allegedly the deep ball is back, but we've heard that one before. So we'll see what that looks like when pads start coming on. But it seems like it's so far so good in getting a bunch of the other guys incorporated and starting to get them comfortable with one another as things are moving on this year.
Yeah, I think the thing is that yes, we didn't know when Rasheed was gonna get the final court date and the ruling, and usually that's when they start to put in the suspensions. But now that we know that it's coming, I feel like Andy's gonna have the right idea of how to approach the start of the season. Now there are some tough games. Don't get me wrong. The Eagles, the Ravens, Chargers, for example, those are going to be tough. But I think the way that we've been operating the last couple of years, and seeing the growth of guys like Xavier Worthy, seeing Noah Gray get in this kind of tight end one adjacent kind of role where he's become more and more reliable as the years go by. I'm pretty positive that we'll be able to play effectively. We're just going to miss Rasheed in that zone and just torching folks like he was doing in the beginning of the season last year. But I mean, you got a healthy Hollywood Brown to start the year. You got Juju through training camp. You got Xavier Worthy year 2. You got Pacheco healthy. You got Kareem Hunt with a full off season. Brashard Smith, Trizzy's guy. He's going to be lethal. I think just everything's kind of going in a good direction, even with the looming suspension with Rasheed. And like Rich said, I mean, who knows if the deep ball's back? I mean, would it be awesome to have it back? Yeah, but if I had 2022 Mahomes where it's just Dyson defenses up, not necessarily throwing it deep, but just being efficient, find the open man and just killing people, that's all you can really ask for. I think it's definitely possible. And as soon as Rasheed gets back, I feel like this offense is going to be even more deadly. And I think because of the sour taste that people got after the Super Bowl loss, I mean, I think a lot of people are underestimating this team already. I mean, you've already heard the preseason champs, the Chargers, Broncos, all this stuff. So, I mean, they got the fuel in the fire and they got the preparation. So, I'm not though
Yeah,
I wish they were gonna play. He was gonna play, and I don't know how long the suspension is. I'm not as worried as I would be maybe say last year when we
yeah,
had question marks.
yeah. And I just wanted to comment one more thing about that. Like last year's situation was a lot different because we lost Hollywood like before preseason started. So obviously we had to play guys in extended roles that we really, really didn't want to play. But my thing about the D ball being back is not. I don't think there'll be an opportunity for us to like really go deep as much because we have Xavier Worthy, we have Hollywood, we have guys who can burn. So they're going to try to to sit back in that two shell over the top again. And I think obviously you don't want to lose Rasheed Rice when you're facing a lot of zone coverage. But I think it just like you said, kind of allows Mahomes to be more careful in the pocket, understanding the windows he can get through with the guys he has right now. And I think it'll be much crisp once Rasheed gets back and you get your number one guy target back. But it's not necessarily about them having a big plays. It's just about them being able to be a threat all over the field. And I think once we can get back to that, we've seen a little bit extended version of that with the RPO. Something that we definitely need to bring back. And I think Jalen Williams can kind of fit in with that bill because he did a lot of receiver screens at Utah State that used him a lot with just getting the ball in his hands. Got to get around the route. Let's just get the ball in his hands in space and see what he can do. I think his role will be something similar kind of to that. And then obviously you have Hollywood and Xavier on the outside, and we work in Juju. You might see something from the Taekwon kid who's been having an exciting OTAs in the first couple of days of training camp. So he's a guy to look out for. But it's not necessarily about having those big plays, like you said. It's just about having a threat to make those plays and just quick momentum shifter plays, quick things that get us in 10, 15 yards. If we can become a threat more like that on first and second downs, I think that kind of brings back the aspect of our offense, just being having to cover by every grade. You know what I mean? Like it's 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 so important that we kind of get back to that efficient football, not necessarily deep threats, which would be great, but just them being more efficient, just more so important for me because I've seen Mahomes air the ball out. I know he can make the window. I know he can make the pass in any type of situation. But when you don't have offensive line blocking and guys are missing and guys are dropping the balls and we just inconsistent, I think that just spells for a whole different storm. So I think you'll see a different Chiefs offense coming into the beginning of the season.
So I had a thought on Jalen Royals specifically, since he's probably the first guy that out of the everybody that's left in terms of the pecking order that's probably going to get a chance after Hollywood, Xavier, and Juju to probably get opportunities. How much do you think? Let's say the Rasheed suspension is 4 games. They don't decide to appeal and they'll just play it out for those 4 weeks without him. How much do you think he'll play realistically? How much would you want to see him play in those first 4 weeks?
Uh, Realistically, I would probably say I don't know what that noise is. Realistically, I would say obviously people are scared to do that, but I think with us, we've seen how well that's worked out for the two rookies that we had, right? And I think obviously Jalen Royals come from a different cloth than what at SMU Rasheed Rice come from, and at Texas Xavier Worthy come from, obviously. But I think the skill is a skill and the size is a size, and he definitely fits the bill with that. So like I said, his role, probably won't be as drawn out as we probably like in the beginning of the year. But I think giving him those earlier opportunities will kind of sharpen us up later on for the year, especially when we lose guys. There'll be games where Juju maybe rest, or we try to sit some vets out. And I think his presence alone, just that big body, that speed, that being able to make those possession catches, the guy that can get the ball in space. I think you will see a lot more of Jalen Warriors than what you're thinking, like initially, just because of like to me, like he's a little bit bigger and faster than Rasheed Rice. I don't know if he's quite as big as a route runner as Rasheed Rice right now, but I do think that Jalen Royals has the measurables. Now, obviously, that does not always translate to the NFL, so not to just throw an early ticket on him. But if I had to bet, a lot of those outside receiver screens, a lot of those out routes, a lot of those posts, like they'll try to look for him to get him comfortable in the offense because he's just gonna have to be a guy that makes plays. And like you're gonna have to cover Travis Kelce. You're gonna have to cover receiver when he gets back. You don't want to lose Xavier over the top or that six. So having those guys that can work those intermediate parts of the field, and him kind of perfecting that role, which he's gonna have to be he's gonna have to struggle a little bit in order to get comfortable with it. So I think you'll see a lot more than maybe what you're thinking initially, just so we have a rhythm going into those later parts of the season, especially when Rasheed gets back.
If you had to put a snap count on it, and this is a question for the whole room, if you had to put a snap count on it, what would you want to see from him? What would you want to see them play him in terms of a snap count the first let's say 4 games? And this is regardless of if Rasheed's playing or not.
I'm
I
not
would
so
like
much
to see
worried.
power in the 10 to 20 at least.
I'm not so much worried as before. I'm more worried about after him trying to jump back in and go 100%. A lot of players get those soft tissue injuries and ligament injuries after having a 4 or 5 week break, whether it be from injury or suspension or something like that. Their body's not used to taking the hits, and then they come back. And I mean, I don't know how many times you see it. Somebody will injure their tweak their knee or tweak their ankle, and then they'll be out for 3 weeks, and then they come back and pop an Achilles or something. I'm more worried about when he comes back, us kind of easing him into it, and when the suspension's over, not just okay, Rasheed's back, he's getting 100% snaps.
Like Rasheed's rookie year, those first couple weeks before they finally like inserted him fully into the offense because they kind of had no choice. Because Rasheed didn't have a ton of snaps in those early games, but he was effective at some points. Like obviously, the first touchdown of that year was a Rasheed Rice pass to him, but he didn't have a ton of reps on the field against Detroit or in any of those early games. So I think if he had that kind of snap count, it wouldn't be terrible. It also depends on how much of an impact he puts out on the field during the games. So, I mean,
if
I
remember
wouldn't be mad
right,
about
rookie
that.
year, he started the season around 20% and then worked his way up to 40% just before the halfway point. Because I remember having a conversation with Mark and others about how the heck is Sky Moore still out snapping him. So he was on a really limited snap count to begin the season.
Yeah, so I think that would be probably the best option for Jalen Royals. And I mean, if he overperforms, I think the thing is that Andy will be able to figure out a way to incorporate it. It's just, I think when we did that year specifically, when it kind of felt like it was a rotating cast of wide receivers, that 2023 season, where it was like, man, I wish Rasheed and MVS and guys were just consistently on the field and not like constantly rotating in subs. It felt like that's the worry I would have, because I kind of want more of a consistency and reps. But I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with a 3-time Super Bowl winning head coach.
Well, see, my internet disconnected and restarted my router. When you guys left, we were talking about Rasheed. I was talking about Rasheed when I was talking about hoping we easing them back into. You guys are talking about. If you guys
We're talking about Jalen Royals.
I mean, it works the same way. I mean, I wouldn't want them to put him.
Well, with Royals, I mean, it's the same thing we said last year. When people are out, the young guys are going to have to step up. I mean, it's going to do nothing but help them unless you're Sky Moore and you get thrown in and completely flop. But all the other guys, when they've been called upon, when Rasheed was needed, he stepped up. When Worthy was needed, he stepped up. Royals is the next man up. I mean, if Rasheed starts the season with a suspension, he's probably going to have a bigger role. Now, I know it helps bringing Juju back and Juju looking like he's a little bit more spry than he was. But I still think somebody like Royals, who has the size, the speed, the route running, could be somebody that could be a key part if Rasheed is out the first 4 games of the season.
Yeah, I just would hope that if he does like Rasheed did and has a pretty strong preseason, that they do actually commit to giving him some early snaps, just because I'd like to see them capitalize on that and let him continue to develop at a pace that everybody is comfortable with. I always hate it when some of these guys come on really strong and then they ride the bench for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. I just don't see the field, and it just doesn't, and just for no apparent reason. So I'm hopeful that he, at least if he continues to have a strong offseason and shows enough stuff in the preseason, that they do at least commit to giving him at least a certain snap share to start getting him real game action, and so that way once we get further in the season, they feel like they can trust him a little more.
Yeah. I don't think Royals is ever going to be that guy that's going to take wide receiver 1 away from Rasheed. Rasheed and Mahomes just have that chemistry. I think Rasheed is really the only one Mahomes has that trust in those tight window throws over the middle right now. And those little quick hitters, he'll throw it between 2 defenders, and I don't see him throwing that to anybody else. But Royals can be that boundary complementary piece to Rice, to where if they're pulling their safeties and their linebackers into the box close to handle Kelsey and Rasheed, and that outside's open, Royals is that outside boundary receiver that has the size and speed that we haven't had over the last few years. They can win those one-on-one matchups on the outside and start to pull some of that pressure off of the interior. I mean, we've literally had no threats on the outside since Tyreek, and teams are just funneling their defense into the center of the field, knowing that's where Kelsey likes to work, knowing that's where she likes to work, and knowing that's where Mahomes likes to throw, which has really limited this offense. If we can start to stretch that field back open, then we could see a lot more of that 3-year ago and 4-year ago offense, to where we're putting up 4,500, 5,000 passing yards because we're hitting it to all different areas of the field. The area's just gotten so compact for Mahomes over the last few years that all he's really been able to do is either try to force it to Kelsey, force it to Rice, or take a couple boundary shots here and there. There just hasn't been that boundary game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Royals and how he's going to be incorporated this year, especially with the Rashee Rice suspension like we were talking about. But, I mean, I'm just I'm not terribly worried about it. That's my thing. I'm so confident in how we prepare and how we get ready for each game. I'm excited specifically for Mahomes and just his attitude this offseason. I mean, I know it was a rough loss for the Super Bowl, but that next Tuesday, he's already in the gym working hard. And, I mean, it's the heart of a champion, the heart of a guy that's just ready to wreak havoc. I think the main thing about last year specifically, and there's always pressure, especially when you're the team of this decade and of possibly of this era. But when you have the ability to do something that's never been done before, and I think every week when there was like, what's wrong with the offense, and then players are getting injured and stuff happening, it kind of all got to them to the point where that was the product that happened at the Super Bowl. Now that kind of weight is off their shoulders. I mean, obviously they're made men. They've won multiple Super Bowls, but the thing is now they have the chip on their shoulder that few teams can say they have is that they're the 3-time Super Bowl champs that are getting doubted because they got thwopped. And I mean, I've seen when they've struggled, like in that 2021 year, and they were able to bounce back and get back to the AFC Championship game and be an overtime away from another Super Bowl. So when it comes to stuff like this, where it's like, will they, won't they, what's going to happen? I'm not worried about it because I've seen it before. I know the type of guys that are in that locker room that are staying focused. I mean, for example, Kelsey is way more I'm not saying he wasn't motivated last year, but you could tell he has made it a priority to focus on getting right and getting ready for this upcoming season. Everyone's got this kind of not revenge attitude, but kind of like they have that chip on their shoulder where it's like everyone's doubting us again. And that's why I'm not terribly worried about this Rashee Rice suspension, because I know they'll be ready for it.
Mahomes, he gets compared to Brady a lot, but the one thing that stands out to me is their competitiveness even when they're winning. You see a lot of these quarterbacks, they win a Super Bowl, and then they kind of take a back seat, like you don't hear much about them anymore. Mahomes and Brady have one thing in common. They're never satisfied. They could win 6 rings, and they're still not satisfied. They want another. And you saw that with Brady when he was in New England. When the coaching staff and the GMs weren't on the same page, it was going downhill, he said, hey, I'm leaving. I want another ring. I can still get another ring. Went to Tampa, got a ring. That's what I see in Mahomes. He's already won 3. He could walk away in the sunset. He could get a dad bod, go out with his family, spend the time vacationing. A week after the loss, he's back in the gym again. He's like, no, I'm not satisfied. I want another one. And like I said, I've only seen that competitiveness in one other quarterback, and that's Brady. And no matter how much they win, they're not satisfied until they're ready to hang it up, which 50 years old.
Is everyone okay?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we're
A
good.
lot
We're
of
just
silence. I
First-
think
first week we're rolling through most of it. It's just got a little bit. We've talked through most of it at this point.
Yeah. I thought this is a good time to introduce since we are talking about rookies, we are officially claiming our rookie guys. So each of us have a rookie that we're excited that we got this year. I'm officially the Norman Lott guy. I know Trizzy is Brashard Smith. Richard, you called it. Ashton Gillette.
It's my guy
Corey,
this year, man.
your guy Jalen Royals, and DG claimed Noel Williams. So I thought maybe each of us can just talk about why we really are excited about this rookie and what they can make for an impact. So Trizzy, I know you've been studying up on some Brashard Smith. What are you super excited about for Brashard Smith?
Well, it's 2 guys since I thought you were taking Bossa, but I can talk about him a little bit as well.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Before Brashad, man, just being at that position. First of all, I remember a while back when we had McKinnon, just being able to have that pass threat out of the backfield, a guy that Mahomes can go to. Man, but what I've seen from Brashad Smith, is just his ability, like not only his vision, and the speed, but I mean the kid he's just a football player. Like he understands football very well. He can make the first guy miss. I think his big play ability, his knack, just to kind of not go down and to find the next tunnel, find the next hole. Just him being able to do that in this offense, we kind of seen guys, have that speed and have that burst. But to have the speed, the burst, and the vision, along with the acceleration, I think you can see some special things out of him. His film is just big plays. Like he's turning something, running down a wide zone, finding the right cutback lanes, getting up the field, making guys miss, being a threat out of the backfield, catching 50, 55-yard touchdown passes, taking a 20-yard pass and taking it to the house. This kid is just electric. And just having that, I guess you could say that kind of that juice back there. It's obviously great for this offense because we've been missing that element throughout the years. with just having a running back, probably since Williams, the kid, the first guy we won the Super Bowl with against the 49ers. We haven't really had a big play back since him, for real, to be honest. I mean, Checo, he's made his plays here and there. He's had a few big runs, but as far as like a home run hitter, I think Brashard Smith is that. I think he's going to be that good in our offense. Given the opportunity, and obviously, pending the offensive line and different, different things can weigh in on how he does. But just him as a football player, man, he's just very explosive. A guy that can turn it north and south really quick. And I'm excited for him to be in the Chiefs uniform, man, because we need that juice, we need that energy. And I think he's a guy that can definitely shift the field for us for sure.
For sure. I'm really excited about him too, and just seeing the tape of him in college was exciting. I know it's when during that draft, a lot of people were like, let's try to get a running back early. Didn't happen, but with the tape that's being shown with him and what he's done in training camp so far, I think the sky's the limit. DG Noel Williams from Cal led the NCAA in interceptions. What are you excited about for him, and why you think he's going to be a key contributor, not even just this year, but for the foreseeable future?
I think you said it right there. His capability to take the ball away. It's something that this defense has been kind of lacking over the last couple of years. I think if they can be able to garner more possessions for Mahomes and the offense, ultimately that'll lead to better success offensively for this offense. So bringing in guys like him that can turn over the ball and get you the ball back in certain situations, I think is pretty vital. I haven't heard too much about him. It's early. I know it's just to day 2 of camp, so I'm assuming but he's getting his reps at the same time too. But there's that position at this point is a little bit loaded with having Jalen Watson and Trey McDuffie and guys, Shamari Connor, guys who've been here ahead of him. So I wouldn't expect Spags to have him in there for a whole bunch of reps at this point in time. But I think his ability to be able to take the ball away, his instincts on the field, we clearly seen from his college tape, he's a very instinctual corner. Plays I think similarly to how Trent McDuffie kind of played coming out of Washington as well. Maybe a little bit undersized, but at the same time, I think he makes up for it for his knowledge and how he sees the game. So I think he's going to be a pivotal piece to this defense for the foreseeable future. And I think him, and maybe if him in the foreseeable future being paired with Trent McDuffie, I think that could make for a deadly combo at the cornerback position for them.
Oh yeah,
Agreed.
dude, Richard, you were totally in on the Louisville Slugger himself, Ashton Gillette. He has a previous rapport with George Karlauftis. Man, you were dead on center for this pick, and he's officially your guy. What are you excited for what he brings to the edge position for the Chiefs?
What I loved about the pick when it happened was that it was actually a little bit of a break from the mold in recent years with what Spags typically likes in his edge rushers. The stereotypical Spags edge rusher as of late has been guys who are a little bit on the heavier side, who can definitely set the edge in the run and make tackles for loss and make sure that everything stays contained for other guys potentially to go get sacks. Because who wouldn't want that when you have a mammoth like Chris Jones in the middle? So it makes sense to have those guys. But with Ashton Gillette, it looks like Spags is finally saying, okay, with the evolution of the quarterback position, with all of these super athletic guys that are getting into the backfield, especially at the running back position now, with how each team has overhauled their rooms with guys who can do stuff in space, get outside. of edges and make explosive plays. I think he's finally kind of tried to get some of these guys that can be more of that explosive pass rusher off the edge, has the ability to get inside into tackles with versatility to move inside to get out of guards that he still likes to have for all four positions across the line. Mike Pennell notwithstanding. But otherwise, I just love the energy he plays with. I love his juice in the pass game. He just has a lightning quick first step that has already shown up in the first couple of days of training camp and been noted by guys. So I really want to see how that translates into pads once he starts going up against Simmons and all the tackles, where they place him to see if they want to test himself against Trey Smith in that middle of the offensive line, just to see where they want to put him, because he could be an inside outside guy in the mold of what Charles Omenihu has become, but he plays at 255, 260 and is able to just eat up guys inside to get quick pressures and hopefully continue that sack production that he had at Louisville. So I'm just super excited for him. He seems to have ingratiated himself with KC. He's kind of embraced the community already. He's embraced the culture, and he's just an easy guy to root for at the end of the day. So I'm super excited to see how he's able to make his mark on this team as a rookie.
It's definitely the hair.
The hair helps too. Let's be honest.
Hair always helps, man.
Richard, I've said it for the last couple of years that Spags was kind of getting behind the curve. A lot of teams, like if you look at teams that have passed on him, like Will McDonald for the Texans, a lot of teams were like, these guys are too small. They're not going to be able to handle 350-pound tackles. And then you're finding out these aren't defensive end. These are just all-around athletes. And they're just so athletic that the tackles can't match up to them speed-wise, cut-wise. And a lot of teams are starting to go to those smaller, more hybrid defensive ends. And that's kind of what it reminds me of. Spags is kind of like, okay, it's working for everybody else. Let's try it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely breaks the mold. That's the biggest thing. Is he's finally? I think it's finally we're gonna see how this goes. We like the kid. We like the athleticism. The production's there. Let's incorporate him in with all these other guys. And we already know how to use a guy effectively in George Karlauftis with a ton of energy and motor to go get pressures and get sacks. So,
and somebody told me this a couple weeks ago, and I thought about it. It actually makes sense that these changes have been developed from the high school level. If you look at 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, back when I was playing, the teams would take the most athletic person on the field and put them at running back and teach them the running back position. Now they're taking the most athletic person on the team and putting them at defensive end and saying, hey, your most important job is getting to the quarterback. And so we're seeing a lot of these ultra athletes that are 60 pounds lighter, but they're just so athletic that you're looking at them like, who's going to stop them? I mean, I think it started with Dallas with what's his name. But, I mean, you're starting to see it all through high school. It's no longer running backs, which was the key position that you're putting the ultra athlete at. They're putting them at defensive end, and that's starting to translate to the next level now.
There's a lot to love about Ashton. I'm really excited to see that pairing and see how he's incorporated into the D-line. Corey, I know you kind of brushed up a little bit on Jalen Royals, but what are you excited about for his potential?
It's more the potential of the offense in general. I look at our offense and how similar it could be to the Lions offense. Yeah, they've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, which is like Rashee Rice over the middle. Is just going to eat up any linebacker safety over the middle. And then you got speed on the outside, and then they've always had a solid secondary outside receiver. We've got Worthy, we've got Rice. The only other piece we're missing to be able to dissect the whole field is that somewhat dominant outside receiver that can handle the boundaries in the short intermediate area. And that's kind of what he gives you. It'll open up a whole other dimension where it's not either just over the middle or deep. teams are going to have to guard from the line of scrimmage to the goal line and from sideline to sideline now.
Hell yeah. There's a lot to love with Jalen Royals and perfect name, obviously, as well. So my guy is Norman Lott, second round pick. I guess what I'm really excited about for Omar Norman Lott is if he really hits, and he didn't have a ton of reps in college, but his pressure win rate was outstanding. Is that if he really does pop and he really is effective at getting to the quarterback and bringing in pressure, then Chris Jones is about to have a field day. Because if you think that you can double team Chris Jones and stop George Karlauftis and stop a possibly really good player in Omar Norman Lott, I mean, that's only going to mean guys like Charles Amenahue, who's having his first full season as a Chief, guys like FAU, like Ashton, those guys are going to feast. And he took some first team reps today. I know that we were talking about earlier, he clocked in at 315, which is about 21 pounds more than he did during the combine. But Chris Jones said himself that he has the ability to really get to the quarterback. He's young, he's raw, but he's got incredible talent. That's what I'm excited to see, is that if he can really disrupt while Chris Jones is getting double teamed, it's only gonna do well for this defensive line. I know Norman Lott wasn't someone that we discussed when we had the previous show and we did the podcasts where we talked about certain positions and players in certain positions that we think would be good for the Chiefs. But I mean, I'm all in on potential. And if he's gonna be a disruptor and open it up for Chris Jones to really wreak havoc like he should be, and like he has been since he got here, then man, I do not wish to be the other guy on the other side of the field. So,
May God bless you, as Chris Jones would say. And he's got the perfect duo to cut his teeth against day in and day out with Creed and Trey locked in. So he will definitely have a tall task to disrupt the interior line once pads go on. So those will be very interesting battles to watch while training camp's going on.
Heck yeah. Trizzy, did you want to talk about Jeff Bassa for a bit?
Yep. Quick brief on Jeffrey. Shout out, Big O, go Ducks. But just watching him throughout, the last couple of years, see he transitioned from a safety. He was a bigger guy, so they probably thought they could use him in the box around the line of scrimmage. A guy that can come downhill from that safety position and really lay some wood. But his knack for the ball is kind of what got him that signal caller at Oregon. From him to be versatile, covering tight ends, he's really good with his hands, got quick feet. He can run as well. Oregon is known for having guys that can run, and he certainly fits the bill at that linebacker position. A guy that can fly around, he can spy. He's physical coming downhill. He likes to hit. Just another guy that we can add along to this very good linebacker group. In my opinion, one of the best linebacker groups in the NFL with Nick Boat and Leo Chanel and Drew Tranquil. I think Bassa kind of brings that size, that speed, and just that understanding, of being able to cover guys on certain positions, being out of position, being inside, being outside, understanding what the defense is doing, and then using his abilities to kind of like trust them and break up some passes. I've seen him spot quarterbacks. I've seen him be disruptive in the run game. He's just a guy that can really do it all. So I'm excited that Spags has a piece like this in his defense. Definitely an underrated pick. I know a lot of guys are not going to be hooping and hollering about Jeffrey Bassa, but they'll know his name soon enough. He's going to play a lot. He's going to be a guy I think comes in on third downs and kind of be able to do a little bit better job on tight ends and guys coming out that intermediate part of the field. those shorter parts of the field. I think he does a very good job at defending that. And I think he's going to be a special teams guy too. He's going to be a guy that's just going to be flying over the field making plays. He has a knack for the ball, so that's something that comes with being in the Spags defense. I think I've been saying that since we started this. When you guys invited me on, I think Spags just has a knack for guys who has that inevitable smell to get to the ball and create chaos and make plays or try to make it for others. And I think Jeffrey Bossa definitely fits the bill. Like I said, a bigger guy. Um, Also can run, like I said, so he'll be able to run sideline to sideline without no problems needed. And I think that's very important for our defense. Just when those guys are coming off the field to getting breaks, and we can put a guy like Jeffrey Bossa in with that second or third group and allow him to be able to make plays in the box and fly all over the field. So I think it's a great pickup. And once again, go Ducks, baby.
He was the signal caller his last year at Oregon, right? He was the one
Yes.
calling relaying the defense. Would you want to see him kind of doing that during training camp to kind of
Yes.
let him get the opportunity to see what he can do, to see if maybe they can trust taking Nick Bolton off the field in certain instances, if it would help out with coverage and let him call plays?
I think specifically that's what he's here for. I think that's why they drafted him. They understand that Nick Bolton's a great player, but third and longs is where you can't really put Nick Bolton in coverage. He's more so of a spy. He's around the line of scrimmage trying to, make it hard for the quarterback. Offenses understand that Jeffrey Bossa is different. He can run with guys. He'll be able to cover. Like I said, he's a physical guy. He is faster than Nick Bolton. I think Nick Bolton may be a little faster downhill, but sideline to sideline, Bossa could probably beat him in a race. You want guys not just with speed, but also understanding. And also, like, at Oregon, watching him play against some of the tougher competition, his name is constantly being called. Just go to any Oregon game from last year, even though they got blew up by Ohio State. I hate Ohio State. But man, I really hate Ohio State. But Jeffrey Boston was just a guy that was flying all over the field. I would love for him to get comfortable in that role because like life without Nick Bolton would have been miserable. So I'm glad he's back at Chief, and I'm glad 32 is here for the long term. But when those situations does happen, like he's physical, so there's a couple of games he may miss, or maybe like you said, he needs a play or two to come out of the game. I think having a guy like Jeffrey Bossa, a guy who played the role, who served in that same role as being a signal caller, getting the group together, obviously it's going to be a little bit more difficult on the SPAC system, which it's going to take some time for him to learn. But once he's able to learn that system, then he'll be able to play fast, and I think you'll see opportunities like that with him.
100%. And then obviously a guy that we haven't mentioned, and I'm guessing Ethan's going to be taking him. But Josh Simmons, obviously, there were some questions because of his injury, which is the reason why he dropped to 32. Honestly, could have been 31 even if we didn't trade with Philly, but rich get richer. What's been great is that he's been taking first team reps for the beginning of training camp. Andy Reid really believes in him. He's got quick feet. Every time I watch or listen to the New Heights podcast, when Kelsey and Jason Kelsey even talk about him, they just nothing but praise and nothing but potential. I know that night in the reaction, we were kind of a little skeptical, or like we just wish could have had a little bit more flash, but
Don't say we, dog.
Yeah,
Don't say we.
Who is we?
Yeah, just at me, brother. Just at me.
Hey, I picked Luther Burden the third
I
too.
didn't.
I was a little
Yeah, that is
disappointed,
true.
too.
I did too. But
We picked different guys, but
we already knew about UDG. It's okay.
but to be fair, I
I like
think
Josh, man. I like Josh.
if he hits, man, dude, the league's we
Yeah.
finally get that
I
left
just don't.
tackle.
I just don't want to see us playing musical chairs in important games, like important stretches where we having to play our all-pro guard at tackle. Like that just puts us at a disadvantage automatically. As cool as it would have been to get Luther, and trust me, I was on board with the Luther Burden train. Look, I thought we was gonna go Luther, But um, to have a guy like Josh, there, and obviously, pending the injury, and it's definitely a risk. I'm not gonna say it's just a lottery pick. It's some risk that comes with it as well. So we'll see how it falls out. But having a guy like Josh, anchoring the left side of that line, which we haven't really had that throughout Patrick Mahomes' tenure. Maybe you can say Eric Fisher, but that was for 1 year or a couple of years. Like that wasn't sustainable. Guys have been moved out of that position. We got injuries. We just haven't had any real consistency at left tackle, which is one of the most important parts in football, especially when you're talking offense. And a guy like Patrick Mahomes and a coach like Andy Reid, who likes to fill up the stat sheet and likes to get guys involved down the field. Well, you can't get guys involved down the field. You can't get any continuity. You can't get a rhythm without a left tackle. And I think, obviously we still have to pan some things out and see how it works out and just praying he stays healthy. But if he's healthy, this is the part where you don't need to go get this is why we don't have Justin Jeffersons and Tyreek Hills and Jamar Chases and all those guys on our team. Obviously Travis Kelsey, no disrespect. But this is why you don't have those type of guys, because Patrick Mahomes is good enough to where if you have protection, he's gonna dumb and dice the defense, which is what we want to see, right? So it's cool for us to be wanting the D ball and have all these speed, but it sucks when we can't protect for 3 seconds to get the ball to the guys. So this is definitely important. We just praying that everything works out for the kid. He's talented. He's big. He's physical. His tape showing well when he was actually not injured, but he's coming off an injury, so there are some question marks there. But like you said, if it hits, I think you'll see that Chiefs offense just really blazing up and down the field.
I think we'll find out pretty quickly. I think once the pads come on Sunday, I think we'll find out pretty quickly if he's going to really be ready. Because he has got a deep group of defensive linemen that he's going to be going up against day in and day out. So
Yeah,
I don't think we will have to wait long.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
Right.
Josh Simmons, if you're watching this, me and my good brother Trizzy will be out there on Sunday for the first padded practice. You better show us something, big fella. I need to see what you showed me on tape at Ohio State. Okay, I saw how well he was moving without the pads, and I like the fact that he was able to practice no knee brace, no sleeve, no nothing like that, or whatever. So those are all good signs. But yeah, I mean, I never questioned the potential or anything like. I want people to get that straight. First of all, like I never questioned the potential or anything that he has. I'm more. This is why I'm not in Brett Veach's position. I am not Brett Veach. He knows more than me. He's more knowledgeable than I am. The only thing I ever questioned was, can he be on the field? Now he's proven to me that he can be on the field, healthy and ready to go. So now with his first padded practice up, I am truly excited to see what this kid can really show us on the field in physical reps against the George Karlauftis of the world, the Charles Omenihu and Chris Jones, and if I see good reps against guys like that, then I think we cooking with some grease. So happy he's on the field, man. But yeah, come on, big fella, show me something. Show me something on Sunday.
All right. Well, speaking of, we got our very first mock 53-man roster presented by Rich himself. And let's see what he's got. I got right here for you guys, if you can see.
Oh, don't hate me, guys. Full disclosure, this is simply OTAs and 2 days of training camp. Give it time. It's just the first one. I promise.
You already got my vote. I see a name that I don't.
I don't see. He doesn't see
So.
Sky Moore. He's good. All right, cool.
No, it's another one on there that I don't see either, and I'm ultimately happy. think it's a great
All
roster.
right, so okay, I think quarterbacks speak for themselves. That's not changing. Gardner Minshew, congrats on being the clipboard holder for this year. Appreciate you. You'll do great. I think Elijah Mitchell gets that roster spot simply because
Yeah, he's making the team.
all accounts seem like he's healthy. He seems like he's fitting in fine. It seems like he's doing all the things he needs to do. So I just don't know if – I don't think Carson Steele's going to beat him out. So
Scott Moore is going to be on the team.
They may forego the fullback this year. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that's just my early feeling is Elijah Mitchell probably as a veteran gets another veteran guy in there that can help Brashard Smith kind of figure out the receiving duties and things like that. I think Jake Brenningstool probably I'm more excited about Jake Brenningstool right now than I am about Jared Wiley, though I think Jared Wiley is still a very good player. We'll just see how it shakes out. I think he's done a lot in these first couple days that have kind of caught people's eyes. So I'm going to give him the edge for the moment, but I think Jared Wiley still has a very good chance of making this roster when it comes down to it. This is me planting my flag for Elijah Badger. I think he definitely has the skills and the versatility to make this roster when it's all said and done. But he does have stiff competition with Remigio having punt return ability and a couple of other guys like Tyquan Thornton vying for that spot as well. So that's the only receiver spot I think is definitely in flux, even with Rashee Rice's impending suspension, because he won't count toward the 53 at that point until he comes back. So he has a little extra lifeline there, but we will see what happens once the pads come on. The usual suspects on offensive line. I know Issa Pohl has been a hot name through OTAs and the start of training camp, but I just need to see it. These are the Devils I know more than the Devils I don't. So
Caliendo being on the list is insane. I don't even know how.
I think with him taking center snaps, and it looks like we
need to figure out if he has some
there.
type of Italian blood.
I think
he had to be wearing.
That's the one spot for me. Yeah, that's the one spot where it's like you could probably take Caliendo out and put someone else in if you've liked someone else better throughout training camp.
I like you better right now than Caliendo.
Hey man, I could still line it up if I wanted to, but for my health, I chose not to.
Well, Caliendo lined it up, and he might as well would have been playing Ghostbusters because it was boring.
So I think the only reason Caliendo will probably make this roster is purely off his versatility of him being able to play probably both sides plus center as well too. So I know it's
negative, Nancy.
I know it's not a
versatility.
I know it's not a popular pick.
That's why I said Issa Pohl has a chance if he has a really good training camp in preseason, but I don't see it as of right now. Yeah. We'll have to see once pads come on.
You do need a contingency plan in case anything happens.
Yeah. So we will see. We will see what happens there.
Praying against
I am too.
Jerry Tillery gets my nod over Fabian Lovett for that last D-line spot for right now. But he has started making a little noise recently with OTAs in the first couple of unpadded practices. So we will see what happens with that, but I think that's the only spot on the defensive line that looks like it's going to be in flux. Everybody else is going to think it's going to make the roster.
Big year for Felix, huh?
Yes, that is definitely this year. He will make this roster, but I think he's got some things he's got to prove. This is definitely a year that would help him to prove a couple things.
His job is definitely on the line this year.
Joshua Williams survives for now on my cornerbacks list, and it's more so because I put Najee Johnson with the safeties rather than the cornerbacks.
Joshua.
He is my.
Man.
If this were a ranking from 1 to 53, he is my 53rd man.
Yeah,
So he
he's
is
like
the most likely to probably.
He's the social media manager at this point.
Yeah,
great.
he is the 53rd guy. He is the guy who is probably fighting for his job the most right now, especially because Christian Roland Wallace has played pretty well starting out.
I mean,
And
locking up Sky Moore.
there's a couple, and there's a
I can lock
couple.
up Sky Moore right now.
There's a couple. DG, I think could lock up Sky Moore just fine right now.
I'm 5'5", and I think I could
Nah,
do the same
It
thing.
don't look like it's that hard of a job right now.
But I have Joshua Williams making it as of right now, but the first 2 days have not sounded great. So
Yeah,
he either needs to really look good on special teams, or he's probably out the door. So we will see what happens with that.
Yeah, he's
And
not.
then for the safeties, I've got Najee Johnson making it. They're using him more as a corner, which also doesn't help Joshua Williams. But I think he's another one of those hybrid guys, along with Shamari Connor, that can play both. So that will make things interesting in terms of when roster crunch comes down. And I think Mike Edwards is going to be on the roster because it never hurts to have a veteran guy who knows the system. Even if he's like 33 at this point. So
They didn't bring those guys back for them not to make the roster. They're gonna make
I think Mike Edwards has probably got a pretty good shot at taking a roster spot. I'm not really. If he doesn't, it's because something happened. So or somebody really balled out. And then I only went with 4 linebackers, which is the usual 4 suspects. Brandon George sounds like he has done some really, really good things on special teams, which is another knock against Joshua Williams at this point. So I think he's kind of one of the first guys I think of where if I were to take somebody off the roster and put another position somewhere else, it would probably be Brandon George or Tyquan Thornton or a couple of other guys. So we could easily add another linebacker here. And then the special teams guys, I think, are pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to stick with Matt Ariza for the time being, but I know there's an active punter battle going on. So either one of those guys is perfectly fine with me. Whoever wants to win the job is more than welcome to it. And Nico makes the roster being a primary return guy and can also give them some wide receiver snaps if they need it. So that's how I have this shaping out as of the end of OTAs and the first couple of practices as things stand right now.
It's not terrible.
Not
And-
terrible.
Like,
I would line up this 53 man with anybody's in the league right now. And there's still a couple of guys that aren't on here that I think can make the roster. So
No Carson still, it's great.
sorry, Carson. Sorry, Sky, but I just couldn't do it.
I mean,
Not
are we
as
really
good.
sorry?
Not as of January.
I'm not sorry. Carson
July
still really
23rd,
stunk it up when he got out
2025.
there. Back to
He had
back.
one good game. That's about it.
Hey, but it was a good game that we needed. So
Against Atlanta, right? I think so.
Yeah, it was an Atlanta game. Yeah,
Yep.
we stepped in because we had.
And then everyone was arguing after that game. Could he be RB1?
Crazy.
I kind of drank a little bit. That
for the record, I
to
was
be
not.
honest.
Shout out to Brashad Smith. We were really talking about Carson still taking running back snaps. It's horrible. He got in the
He
game.
definitely came into a great situation this year.
He got in the game. It stunk up the kingdom, man. It was horrible. He got stripped twice, back-to-back possessions. It was horrible.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Too bad.
Sorry,
so
Carson.
sad.
We love
I
you,
think
buddy.
I think what was funny when I was making this was like, wow, there's really only about like 4 spots that I'm like, yeah, you could replace him with somebody else.
Yeah.
And other than that, it started getting really hard to say, no, I think I would take this guy on the roster. So I think that really speaks to how there's really like 8 guys battling for like 5 spots, if that, this year. So that's definitely a good problem to have.
I like the Gary Bertier kid over Joshua right now.
Who was it? Yeah.
Remember the Titans linebacker? Like he stinks. I don't want that guy on the team. Man.
Over Josh Williams.
Yeah.
No week.
I know y'all are like who?
Right.
Corey Bertie, baby.
Say
I never
anybody,
seen that chat.
anybody
Chat.
over Josh
He
Williams.
said, "Give me anybody."
Chat. If you're looking for a classic football movie, remember the Titans. Big Dom and the boys are back. Cheese, shout out to Cheese. Hold on, let's get some shout outs real quick. Shout out to Kingdom Cast. Woo woo. Shout out to Kingdom Queens. Jody, Lexi. Shout out to Kingdom Cast. Man, make sure y'all got and go follow those Cheese outlets. Mark G, Mac, Lexi, Jody, DG, CJ, all the guys, Boogie.
Everybody's back in business
Everybody's
now that
back in
training camp's back.
business. My guy, if I'm missing anybody's name, I promise you it's not on purpose. But love all y'all. Appreciate y'all tapping in with us, man. I'm gonna be tapped in on y'all episodes and y'all podcasts as well. I'm just picking up information and tapping in with you guys. So it's really cool to see everybody supporting each other. So shout out to all the outlets. We really appreciate y'all showing up and showing in and showing some love, baby.
Hell yeah, man. This has been for our debut episode. This was a great episode. Obviously, it took a while to get back, but we're rocking and rolling. We're going to be here every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, if not just a little bit later than that, just like today. Sometimes shit happens, but you'll still get myself, Richard, Trizzy, DG, Corey, and Ethan on occasion. We're gonna bring you the best content we possibly could have at all times. We're gonna add new ideas and new flavors.
New things coming. I'm excited.
So, we're gonna sign off now, but just want to thank everybody for listening in. That's Richard. Guys, Chiefs Kingdom, have a good night. Take it easy, guys.